snowing like crazy. Middle of May. Anyways, that's what I'm working on. I'm gonna rebuild this wall all the way across. Pretty much just pulled apart the railway ties just in pieces like that. A few lawn pieces, it's completely rotted out. Chipmunk Hotel is gone. Just finished those stairs yesterday, and the chipmunks are trying to dig underneath there and get into the garage because they used to go through a hole in there. I'm sure they spent the winters in there where it was warm. Okay, I'm just about to adjust the throw out on the clutch. I just want to make sure the cable's loosened all the way off, the clutch cable. Lots of slack on that, and then we'll adjust this here. Just going to set the clutch up. I got the cable loosened right off. I'm going to turn this screw in all the way until it bottoms out, and then just to make sure the cable's loosened off, you can check the free play in your cable, make sure it's loose. If your cable's tight still, then you don't have it loosened off enough. Like I've loosened it off quite a bit there, so there's play in it. So, according to the book, you back it off a half a turn to 3/4 of a turn. I'm gonna go half a turn because this is gonna all seed in a bit. So I got the Husky on the top here. Turn it to the bottom, there's half a turn. And I'll tighten this up. I think it says 6 to 8 foot-pounds on that nut. I'm not sure if this is it. I'll have to find a wrench. 11/16. Now I'm going to take the free play out of the clutch cable. If you can see it there or not. I lubed it up pretty good, so hopefully I can turn it by hand. Otherwise you got to get a wrench on it. Keep backing it out. Check the lever. I got about a quarter of an inch plate there now. And there's a pinch nut on that cable. Just tighten that up. I could tighten up a little bit more. Those DP clutch plates, it says right in the instructions you can put them in dry. Usually I soak them. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think. Maybe a little bit more. A lot of people measure this gap right here, the gap between the lever and the housing. I like at least an 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch free play in there. It's probably going to seed in a little bit. I forgot what Harley recommends, but it's kind of a feel how you like it, I guess. But you don't want that cable right tight, otherwise your clutch will be slipping all the time. I'm going to start there. I think that's 9/16, I think. Yeah, that's 9/16. Snug that up. Okay, so the clutch is adjusted. We got this set up. That's tight. I didn't bend the tangs over on that yet, so it's been so long, I better double check that. It's at 7/16. Checking everything. I don't want to over tighten those little things. Now just bend these little tangs over. It's just pouring out there now. Those are pulled over. Okay, so we got the chain tightened there. Clutch is all in. I think we're ready for the derby cover and some fluids. Okay. I don't have a new derby cover gasket, but this one came off all nice in one piece. Supposed to replace it every time, they say. Screw that. If it's good, I'm reusing it. It's a nice, got a nice rubber seal on it. It's good. I put a new O-ring on the shifter tube here. I'm just going to put some grease on that O-ring so it slides in a little better. I'm going to put some a little bit of this grease on the needle bearing here for the starter. Synthetic grease, it'll hang around. I should probably take this cover off and put this on after. Try to do it this way. I gotta get that O-ring in there at the same time. Yeah, I'm gonna take this cover off. Make it easier. All right, get ready. I got the bolts all laid out here. There's 5 long ones, 5 short ones. I didn't mark where they go, but it's on any side cover, engine cover, when you put the bolts all in, they all should stick out the equal amount, right? So if this one bottoms out, that's about a 1/2 inch out. That's about a 1/2 inch out. That's about a 1/2 inch out. 1/2 inch out. Maybe I'm getting lucky here. 1/2 inch out. There's the long ones, 1/2 inch out. Long one there, 1/2 inch out. I must be getting lucky. 1/2 inch out. 1/2 inch out. I got lucky there. All the long ones are down here, all the short ones were down here. This kit doesn't come with all the sizes. Let me go find a socket. Just snugging them all up. And before I go too far, I want to get this in there. When I had this off, I cleaned out that tube really good because it was sticky. That shifter was a little sticky. It was all gummed up and greasy in there, so I cleaned it out really good, flushed it out, greased it up, back and forth. I'm going to take this cover off because this is where I'm going to fill it up. Okay, I'm going to finish torquing these in. There's the one there. I'm just doing it by feel. As soon as it stops turning just a little bit more. Not even a quarter of a turn. You see so many of these ones stripped over the years. over tightening them. Just double checking them. That's the drain plug, that one. It's tight. Okay. I left this green wire out as it hooks to the tack cable wire, which it never was by the previous owner, so I gotta try to find that in the harness at some point. Okay, I'm gonna get the oil for this. You can Google what motor oil people recommend for their Harleys and for their transmission gearbox there, or the primary, and there's literally thousands of answers. Thousands. It's unbelievable. Different varieties, viscosities, makes. The old standard rule was, back in the 80s, was 20/50 in everything. And you can, and you still can. It'll work, it'll run. But the transmission, you know, it's all gears in there. One thing people maybe not, a lot of people don't know, is that motorcycle engine oil and car engine oil are totally different. It's made up of different compounds, and because transmissions like Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki's, any motorcycle engine that has the gearbox built into the engine has to have a shear quality. The gears just shear the oil and will destroy the oil. And where in a car, there's no gears. You know, everything, your transmission is separate. You might have a timing chain, or maybe a couple of gears that run up to the cam. Very few gears. So whenever you work on a motorcycle, always buy a motorcycle oil. Don't pour an automotive oil in an engine. So on the Harley, there's very few gears too. There's timing gears on the other side for the motor oil, but I still always recommend buying a motorcycle oil because it has that shearing molecule in the anti-shearing molecule in the oil. The other thing is the clutches in these, they're kind of a wet-dry clutch. They don't get very much oil on them. A lot of guys just use the 20/50 in here. Synthetic oil, or not a synthetic, just a regular motorcycle motor oil. There's just so many varieties. It's unbelievable what people are putting in here. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna put in this one. Some people use transmission oil. It's pretty lightweight. I could do that. The motor oil, I've got Harley Davidson 20/50 motor oil, I believe I poured in there. Or this V twin power in the motor oil. So that's what I'm going to pour in here. I think I'm just going to use some motorcycle 20W50 oil for now, and that's all I got right now. So, and then the gearbox oil. This AMSOIL 75 weight 90 is a good oil for the gearbox over there, but 20/50 will work. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. It takes about 38-40 ounces, but you fill it up to the just to the bottom of this lip here on the inside. Oh shit, you can't even see there. On the inside here, you just fill it up to that. In there. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll measure it though, just to see how close I am. Lucas, this is a full synthetic oil, and it says use it for the engine, transmission, and primary So, and this is formulated for wet clutches, so this will work for it. Yeah, I might try this. So I've got the regular oil. In the Japanese bikes, we didn't used to be able to run the pure synthetic on the clutches, but the newer ones are all pure synthetic now. So yeah, let's try this. So 1 quart. 1 quart's 30 ounces, I think. Yeah. They sell a nice little cup that goes in here for pouring this in. Wish I had that. Let's see if I can get this in there. Well, I poured in 40 ounces about, maybe 38, 39, 40 around there. Well, probably 38, 39 because I used about one. That bottle was a little bit missing a little bit. It's just to the bottom of the clutch right there. What we gotta get here? I'm going to put a little bit of a gasket maker on this O-ring so it doesn't fall out, just to hold it in place. Clean this up a little bit. A little bit of degreaser on there. This O-ring has a tendency to fall out, so I'm just going to put a little bit of this Loctite gasket maker on there. It's kind of red and sticky. Put a little bit on this. Just to kind of hold it in place. Like that. So it just fell out when I took it off, right? These 3 bolts come with a little copper O-ring washer. Live to ride. Chrome's kind of peeling on that cover a little bit right there. Aftermarket cover, piece of crap. Just until it stops. A little bit more. Okay, let's see if we can get the shifter all back on. Got this. The socket on all the way. I'm not sure where that was. Sometimes there's a mark there. Nope. I'm just going to try it, but I know it's just above the where your foot sits. Right around in there. Just so your toe can get under it. like the way this fit. Like it's not, it should come out flush here. Pry it from the back. Just prying it with this from the back, the shifter to hold it out a little bit. I may have to adjust that again. I'm not sure. It should be neutral. Okay. I think this side's done. I'm just going to install this coil cover. You have to take these two bolts out and bend over the choke bracket. If you're using the original Harley, they give you a choke bracket that you can mount in a different position on the back of the bolt. But I got an S&S carb, so that choke bracket isn't being used, so I just kind of bent it over. And then you got this angle iron plate here that comes with it, so the angle iron comes out, it doesn't go in. Otherwise this won't fit on. Then the tricky part, phone just rudely rang. So yeah, the tricky part is just try to find these holes in there. And it comes with 1/4 inch screws. Yeah, this might be the tricky part with the tank on. I don't know how long that'll last on there, we'll see. Might vibrate down the highway. Should be a better system than that. Maybe a couple studs and then a lock nut on the top or something, but it feels pretty solid. I had to bend that over, so I chipped that black paint there a little bit, so I'll just touch that up, but that looks a little better. Okay, exhaust. Exhaust is the next thing. 2 hours later, here's where I'm at with this thing. I welded it back on right where it was. Primered it, painted it. This is the motor isolation mount that I got. It was like half the price of a Harley one, and it's heavier duty. And it was threaded, already threaded, I think with a 3/8 coarse thread in here. And I drilled it out thinking that I was going to have to put a bolt, like the bolt goes in here and slides up. There's not that bolt, this bolt. And then, you know, somehow you're supposed to thread it into that. Well, that's impossible. So I drilled it out, and I was just going to put a longer bolt in and put a nut on the back of it. But then I realized this isn't going to line up with that anyways. So I'm going to put that rubber, isolation rubber in here. And then there's a bracket that comes down and then bends out on about a 45. And then that's what it bolts to. That's That's that bracket right there. Maybe it's 50, 60 degrees, I don't know. But yeah, so I drilled that out for nothing. So then I had to re-thread it to a larger bolt size. And so that's all ready to go. These are the bolts to bolt that into the original holes. Just gonna let the paint dry up, get it all bolted on. This clamp bolt was out here about 2 inches. I cut that off, so you won't see that. Yeah, I disconnected the tank or the battery while I welded that back on. It's not the best welder, ground it down a little bit, but I got good penetration. That's on there solid. This bike is just about ready. Once I bolt that on, I can lower this down and fire it up. And if hopefully the timing's good, and if it is, then I'm ready to jet that carb. So it's just about done. Okay, that's it for now until that paint dries. I'm going to put it all back together. Okay. Oh no, I had to space this out a little bit. Yep. Trying to remember how I had it. This up. Like that. I haven't tried this all out yet, so we got to see if it's going to work. I'm going to put it on without a wash on it right now because it might hit the exhaust. I think this one is really close, so I'm just going to kind of bolt it on like that for now. sure where it's going to line up, so leave it like that. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do this now. Maybe I have to put this bolt in last, because once I get this in here, yeah, so I think I have to put this bolt in last. Let's go now. This is going to be tricky. Just going to do it loose so we can get this in there, I hope. Like that. I don't know how this is going to work. We'll try it. Oh, we got to put the clamp on. Clamp's going to go like that. It's going to be a juggling act. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. Trial and error. That's my favorite saying. It's going to be pretty like that. That's a tight fit back here. Not much I can do about that right now. I forgot why I spaced that out now. could take the spacers out of this one. I think this one was gonna be, it's gonna make the rubber closer to the thing. Yeah, I could take that one out. Oh, that'll work for now. Okay, let me tighten it all up. Under adjustment to that bracket down there, had to drill a hole 1/4 inch lower and cut off the top half. And then I slot the bottom so I could slide it into the slot, tighten it up. So, oh, I gotta tighten up this thing yet. I was just gonna say, I'm all done. I'm all done. This bike's ready to be fired up, but it's getting late today. Tomorrow I'll work on that. And yeah, the exhaust is bolted on, solid, mounted. She's ready to go. So next video we'll fire this thing up. And if it runs good, I'll take it for a test drive. If it doesn't run good, I'll have to jet it a little bit more and then take it for a test drive. But yeah, it's a good looking bike. I really like the looks of that bike. That's kind of my style. Well, lowrider, they're called lowrider. Lots of chrome on it. I'm not too big on chrome, but it does look good on this bike. That blue and chrome really stands out. I'll fix that crankcase breather down there too. Don't really like that hanging down like that. I'll tuck it in somewhere. Okay, that's it for this video. Next video is tuning that carb.